You might think I'm sitting in some ordinary red chairs in front of an ordinary piece of blue seamless. Well, it's where I'm sitting that makes this extraordinary. We've traveled to New York City, and right now I'm sitting at center court of Madison Square Garden, where in just a few moments, Madison Square Garden photographer George Kalinsky is going to take the official team portrait of the New York Knicks. George, you told me taking a team picture like this is not such a big deal. What are you going to do to make it easy for yourself?
Well, I'm going to set up a 27-foot blue background, and
why is that? You'd think you'd want the seats in the background.
Well, I don't want the players to blend in with the darkness of the background, and I want the picture to be colorful, and I can get a lot of this color with the blue background.
How are you going to get that backdrop to stand up?
Well, I have the Carpenter's Erector brace, and a 27-foot by 8-foot backdrop is pretty heavy, and this is about the 15th time we've done this, so they should have it down pretty pat now.
George, you consider Madison Square Garden the world's largest photographic studio. Why is that?
Well, probably every celebrity that I could think about has passed through here either as an entertainer or as a fan. And I look at all of these people as personalities that I like to photograph as performers and in a studio. And I know the lighting so well here that it's almost as if I brought them to my private studio.
You can spend a half hour lighting this team picture, yet you don't. Tell us why you're using natural lighting so much.
Well, the lighting in the garden is very good, and I was using one single strobe light so as to correct the film for outdoor lighting, which was the Kodachrome 64 that I was using. If I didn't use the strobe light, then the pictures would come out a little on the yellow side. So the light that I used was really a fill-in flash, and the bulk of the light actually came from the garden ceiling and the garden setup of lights itself.
How are you handling this picture technically?
Well, technically, there's a lot of little things to be concerned with. You have to make sure that the light that you have facing the players doesn't move even a half inch. You have to make sure that the film is advancing. You have to make sure that the camera is in focus, that all the little knobs that have to do with taking the pictures are all in the right place.
I noticed that when you take a picture, you're not looking right through the viewfinder. Of course, you frame it up, but then you don't use a viewfinder after that. Why?
Once I get the picture in focus, I feel that I would rather look at all of the players as best I can as an overall picture to see if any eyes are closed or eyes are blinking or somebody's not smiling. And if somebody looks like they're not sitting quite the way I want them to, I can see them a lot easier than when I'm looking through the viewfinder.
You say it's not such a big deal, but getting 20 people to smile at the same time, that's a pretty big deal to me. How do you solve that problem?
Well, you have to have about 20 eyes to look at each individual player. I take about 13 or 14 pictures, which really isn't a lot. And to me, I want to make sure that every player has his eyes open, he's smiling, and that he looks fine. And you can sort of apply it to taking pictures at home with your family. You want to make sure that everybody looks good, and basically that's what I'm doing, is taking pictures of the New York Knickerbocker family. And part of it is also communicating with them so that they understand you, and when they smile, they're not really smiling at a blank camera or a cold camera, they're smiling really at me. Okay, here we go. I really like being behind the lens, and I really enjoy photographing people, and I love photographing the expressions and facial expressions that people show as a result of various emotional aspects of an event.
George Kalinsky has been capturing faces of the Knicks and many others for the past 15 years, capturing that team spirit on World of Photography.